The listening post known as Outpost Theta 9 floated in the void between dying stars. Its crew of 12 had not seen another living ship in years. They survived on recycled air, algae paste, and the brittle routine of despair. Lieutenant Ilara Niven sat in the dim glow of the radar room, eyes fixed on the flickering monitor. The hum of power conduits filled the silence like a heartbeat. She adjusted the scanning field again, static, interference, decay, then a blip. "Captain," she called, voice tight. "You might want to see this." Captain Jonas Hale appeared from the corridor, tall and worn, the lines on his face carved by decades of quiet loss. He leaned over her shoulder, watching the anomaly repeat, faint but distinct, a return signal that shouldn't exist. "What frequency?" he asked. "Old Earth Standard," Ilara said. "Pre-Dominion era. It's not a trick, I've cross-checked 3 times. Hale frowned. "That band hasn't been used in centuries. Run a spectral trace." She did. The computer stuttered, then processed the waveform, projecting a rotating schematic on the main screen. It was enormous, over 5 kilometers in length. The hull signature was unfamiliar, angular, ancient in design but powerful. Ilara whispered, "It's human." The word hung in the air like a ghost. Before Hale could answer, alarms blared across the station. The Dominion's patrol ships, 3 cruisers, had entered the sector, drawn by the same signal. "Seal all external ports," Hale ordered. "Get a transmission out to any friendly frequency." "There are no friendlies left," Ilara said softly. He didn't respond. He just watched the radar. The massive contact was moving, slowly, deliberately, toward the Dominion fleet. Outside, space erupted with light. The 3 Dominion cruisers approached the unknown vessel with caution. Their scanners struggled to penetrate the black surface of its hull. No transponder. No comms. Just silent mass and shadow. "Maybe it's debris," one of the Dominion captains sneered over open frequency. "Or one of the dead species' relics. We'll vaporize it for good measure." Their plasma cannons charged. And then, the dark ship moved. Sensors flared across the spectrum. A pulse of energy rippled outward, scrambling all systems within 50,000 kilometers. The unknown vessel's surface came alive with lines of cobalt light, crawling along its armor like veins awakening. Then a name appeared along its forward hull, scorched but legible through the glare. UNS Nemesis. "Holy hell," Hale breathed. "That's a pre-Exodus warship." Those things were myths. The Dominion opened fire. Bolts of plasma streaked through the void only to dissipate harmlessly against a sudden energy barrier. The Nemesis didn't retaliate immediately, it simply drifted, analyzing. Then, in a motion so fast it defied sensor resolution, its forward batteries rotated. 6 cannons discharged simultaneously, releasing light that outshone the stars. The Dominion cruisers ceased to exist. No wreckage. No distress signals. Just 3 expanding spheres of vaporized metal. Hale and Ilara sat frozen as the afterglow faded. "Sir," Ilara whispered, voice trembling. "That ship just erased 3 Dominion warships in under 6 seconds." He nodded slowly. "Send a message, broad frequency. Identify ourselves as survivors of the free colonies. Request contact." Ilara hesitated. "If it's really human, do you think they'll respond?" "I think," Hale said quietly, "they've already noticed us." The radar pinged again. The Nemesis was altering course straight toward Outpost Theta 9. 10 minutes later, the black ship loomed against the observation glass like a moving continent. Its hull was a mosaic of ancient alloys, patched with scars from wars older than recorded Dominion history. Then, through the static, a transmission cut through, clear, human, and impossibly calm. "This is Captain Marcus Reed of the United Nations warship Nemesis. Identify yourselves." Ilara's breath caught. "It's real." Hale stepped forward. "This is Captain Jonas Hale of Theta 9. You're speaking to the last human outpost in the Scutum sector. We thought Earth was gone." There was silence on the line for a long moment. Then Reed's voice returned, quieter this time. Earth was gone, he said. But not anymore. Before Hale could reply, new alarms screamed across the station, not from the Nemesis, but from deep space. A Dominion strike fleet, over 60 ships strong, was inbound. Reed's tone didn't change. Outpost Theta 9, stand by. We'll handle this. The comm cut. Ilara stared at Hale. 60 Dominion warships, Captain. They'll destroy everything. Hale looked back at the Nemesis, its silhouette framed against the approaching storm of stars. Maybe, he said. But for the first time in my life, Lieutenant, I don't think we're the ones who should be afraid. Outside, the void began to burn as the Nemesis turned to face the oncoming fleet. Its engines roared like thunder across the vacuum, and for the first time in centuries, the galaxy would remember what it meant to fear humanity. Space was never truly silent. Inside Outpost Theta 9, the hum of machinery vibrated through the steel walls, echoing the steady rhythm of hearts that had forgotten what hope sounded like. But now, hope had a shape, a vast shadow illuminated by the distant flare of engines, turning slowly toward the enemy. The UNS Nemesis moved with the gravity of a god. Its black hull devoured light, its energy signature pulsing like the heartbeat of something ancient and alive. The Dominion fleet had arrived in formation, 60 ships strong, cruisers, dreadnoughts, and carriers, their crimson insignia blazing like fresh blood in the darkness. From the observation deck, Captain Jonas Hale and Lieutenant Ilara Niven watched the impossible unfold. 60 warships, Ilara whispered, her voice trembling. We're about to watch history repeat itself. Maybe not, Hale murmured. His eyes never left the Nemesis. Look at how she moves, that's not just a ship. That's an artifact of another era. Through the transparent dome, the Dominion armada spread out, arcs of energy dancing across their hulls as they powered weapons. Their commander, Lord Admiral Kyrath, appeared on open broadcast, his voice guttural, mechanical, amplified by centuries of cybernetic augmentation. This is the Dominion. Identify or be destroyed. The Nemesis did not respond. Instead, faintly visible across her hull, dozens of panels shifted, aligning into long, symmetrical banks. For a second, the galaxy held its breath. Then the war began. The Nemesis unleashed her fury. No sound carried in the void, but from Theta 9's sensors, the battle was a symphony of light and death. The human warship fired, not plasma, not energy bolts, but something far worse. Blue-white lances of compressed fusion burst from her broadside batteries, slicing through Dominion cruisers like paper. The first wave of 10 enemy vessels vanished in incandescent fireballs. The Dominion returned fire, hundreds of plasma rounds slamming into the Nemesis's shields, creating rippling distortions of light. But the ancient human armor absorbed it, glowing briefly before darkening again. She's tanking them, Ilara said, awe in her voice. Those hits would have cracked a battleship in half. She's not even at full power, Hale replied. The Nemesis rotated slowly, her secondary turrets tracking targets with terrifying precision. Missiles launched in perfect symmetry, weaving through defense fields and detonating with surgical accuracy. The Dominion formation began to break apart. Then, amid the chaos, something stranger happened, the ship spoke. Over all frequencies, a low, resonant voice filled the comms. It was Captain Marcus Reed. To all listening stations, he said calmly. This is Captain Reed of the UNS Nemesis. Humanity's silence ends today. The words sent chills through the outpost crew. Even the Dominion channels fell silent for a moment, as if the galaxy itself paused to listen. Then, the Dominion flagship responded. You are relics of extinction, hissed Admiral Kyrath. You cannot fight the inevitable. Reed's voice came back, steady and unflinching. The inevitable, he said, was built by men like me. And we learned to break it. A new flare erupted from the Nemesis's dorsal array, a strange, rotating structure that began to spin faster, gathering energy. Ilara's instruments screamed in overload warnings. Captain, she said, I'm reading a gravitational anomaly forming around that ship. It's bending spacetime. I've never seen readings like this. Hale frowned. That's not a weapon, that's a singularity generator. Seconds later, space itself folded. A pulse of blue light expanded outward, and every Dominion vessel caught in the radius began to tear apart, not from explosion, but from internal collapse. Armor crumpled inward, crushed by invisible pressure. Their reactors imploded silently, vanishing into motes of glowing dust. Only fragments remained. Ilara covered her mouth. She just wiped out half their fleet in one strike. But the Nemesis wasn't untouched. Damage alarms flared across the visual feed, cracks along her hull, bleeding streams of plasma, and power fluctuations rippling through her core. She had endured, but not without cost. On comms, Reed's voice returned, quieter now. Outpost Theta 9, this is Captain Reed. We've neutralized the first wave, but more will come. Dominion reinforcements are already converging from nearby sectors. Hale leaned forward. What's your condition, Captain? Operational, Reed replied. Barely. But our purpose isn't survival, it's message. The galaxy needs to remember what humanity is capable of. Then you need to get clear, Hale said firmly. You've done enough. No, Captain, Reed said. We've been gone too long. We built the stars, then hid from them. The Nemesis carries the legacy of every world that fell. We don't run, not again. The transmission ended. Hours later, the second Dominion wave arrived. 120 ships, carriers, destroyers, orbital bombardment platforms, all converging like a metallic storm. The Nemesis turned to face them alone. From the outpost, Hale felt the weight of helplessness claw at his chest. He slammed a fist on the console. We can't just watch them die. Sir, Ilara said gently, we don't have weapons. We'd be debris before we even got close. He looked out at the warship, battered, burning, but still poised like a predator ready to strike. Doesn't matter, he muttered. If they fall, the last light goes with them. But before he could act, a new signal flashed across the radar, several, in fact. Ships, human in origin. What the hell? Ilara whispered. Where are they coming from? The radar filled with green pings, smaller vessels, sleek and fast, marked with the same old Earth code. UNS Aegis, UNS Horizon, UNS Valkyrie. Reed's voice broke through the static, this time not alone. Outpost Theta 9, this is the Human Expeditionary Command. Reinforcements have arrived. The screen lit up as the newcomers broke warp, a fleet of 50 warships, ancient yet alive, engines roaring with blue flame. The Nemesis led them like a titan at the head of her army. Ilara stared in disbelief. He wasn't the last. Hale smiled for the first time in years. No. He was the first. The battle that followed shook the stars. The combined human fleet and Dominion armada clashed in a storm of brilliance. Missiles streaked like comets, railguns thundered, and the void burned brighter than any sunrise. The Nemesis, despite her wounds, carved through enemy lines with calculated brutality. Each shot was poetry in motion, every maneuver, the echo of lost centuries of warfare perfected by extinct hands. Hale and Ilara could only watch, tears in their eyes, as the tide finally turned. Hours later, as the last Dominion ship broke apart and its flames faded into cold embers, the comms crackled. This is Captain Reed, came the faint voice. The scutum sector is clear. Static filled the line before it cut completely. For a long moment, no one aboard Outpost Theta 9 spoke. Then Hale whispered, signal the fleet. Tell them, the galaxy just changed. Ilara nodded slowly, eyes fixed on the silent black form drifting beyond the viewport. The Nemesis floated there, damaged, motionless, but victorious. Her lights flickered weakly, reflecting off the dying stars. Do you think they'll survive? She asked softly. Hale exhaled. If there's one thing humanity's always done, Lieutenant, it's survive. The battle was over. What remained of the Dominion fleet drifted in silence, broken vessels turning slowly in the void, their fires dimming against the eternal dark. The light of their destruction bathed the UNS Nemesis in ghostly blue, like a monument built from shadow and flame. From Outpost Theta 9, Captain Jonas Hale stood before the panoramic glass, watching the aftermath unfold. He could hardly believe it had happened. For centuries, the Dominion had been unstoppable. Empires had fallen, species had vanished, and now, a single human fleet had brought them to their knees. But victory carried no sound, only the hollow whisper of what it cost. "Still no response from the Nemesis?" Hale asked. Lieutenant Ilara Niven shook her head. Her voice was low, uncertain. "Last transmission came 10 minutes after the battle ended. Reactor critical. Structural collapse in progress." Then silence. Hale's chest tightened. He turned to the window again. "Reed stayed behind, didn't he?" Ilara swallowed hard. "He bought us the galaxy's first sunrise in centuries." Outside, the Nemesis hung motionless. Whole sections of her hull had been torn open, molten metal leaked into the void, glowing faintly before freezing into ribbons of glass. Yet even in ruin, she looked powerful, proud, unyielding. The ship that had burned through darkness to remind the stars who humans once were. Hours passed. The newly arrived human fleet spread through the sector, retrieving survivors, collecting fragments of Dominion tech, and scanning for remaining hostiles. On every frequency, one message replayed in quiet reverence. "This is Captain Marcus Reed of the UNS Nemesis. Humanity's silence ends today." The words became an anthem. Broadcasts spread from relay to relay, carried by refugees and wanderers who had once forgotten what freedom felt like. Within days, it reached every surviving colony, every hidden station, every enslaved world still whispering in the dark. And across the galaxy, a single truth dawned: the humans had returned. Hale and Ilara worked tirelessly with the expeditionary fleet, coordinating recovery efforts. Ships that hadn't seen sunlight in generations now carried human banners again. But for Hale, one unfinished thing remained. "Prep a shuttle," he told Ilara one morning. "I'm going to the Nemesis." She looked up sharply. "Sir, the radiation levels." "I know," he interrupted. "But if Captain Reed's still aboard, I'm not leaving him behind." She hesitated, then nodded. "Then I'm going with you." The shuttle glided silently toward the shattered warship. Its once proud hull loomed ahead, marred with scars and drifting debris. As they docked with what remained of the port airlock, the silence was suffocating, the kind that only follows great violence. Inside, the corridors were dark. Emergency lights flickered weakly, casting long shadows across carbon-scored walls. The air smelled of metal and ozone. Hale's boots echoed as they moved through the empty halls. "This ship feels alive," he muttered. "Like it's still watching us." Ilara ran her hand along a bulkhead. "More like it's remembering us." They reached the bridge, or what was left of it. The ceiling had partially collapsed, consoles shattered, wires hanging like veins from the dark. And there, at the center chair, sat Captain Marcus Reed. He was motionless. The front of his uniform was scorched, one arm burned beyond recognition. But his face, calm, resolute, still carried that same iron steadiness they'd heard over calms. Ilara's breath caught. He stayed until the end. Hale stepped closer, kneeling beside the fallen captain. His gloved hand brushed dust from Reed's insignia. "You did it, son," he whispered. "You brought us back." Beside Reed's chair, the main console still glowed faintly. A cracked monitor displayed a single recording file labeled Legacy Transmission Priority Alpha. Ilara activated it. The screen flickered, and Reed's voice filled the bridge. "If you're hearing this, the Nemesis has done her duty. I don't know how far this signal will travel, or who will find it. Maybe it's you, Hale. Maybe it's no one. But listen carefully. Humanity was never meant to rule forever. We weren't gods, just survivors who refused to vanish. The Dominion thought extinction meant silence. They were wrong. Our silence was preparation. We remember the cost of arrogance. We remember every war, every mistake. If humanity rises again, let it not be as conquerors, but as guardians of the light we almost lost. If the Nemesis must die, let her die knowing she gave the stars something to believe in again." End of transmission. For Earth, and for all who still dream beneath her ashes. The screen went dark. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Hale said softly, "He wasn't just fighting for us. He was fighting for everyone who forgot what courage looked like." Ilara nodded, wiping a tear from her cheek. "What do we do now, Captain?" He turned toward the viewport, the endless sweep of stars, the ruins of battle, and the quiet hum of a universe that had just changed forever. "We rebuild," Hale said. "Not an empire, a home." Back aboard Outpost Theta 9, the reconstruction began. The once forgotten station became a beacon renamed Haven 1, the first new capital of the human-free colonies. Refugees poured in from across sectors. Ships of alien origin arrived too, tentative and cautious, drawn by rumors of the Nemesis stand. At the heart of the station's memorial dome, they placed Reed's recovered insignia and a fragment of the warship's hull. Etched beneath it were his final words: "Let humanity be remembered not for conquest, but for defiance in the face of darkness." The message spread faster than any fleet. Worlds that had once hidden in fear began to rise again. Colonies lit their night skies with signals of hope. Even those who had never seen Earth spoke her name as if it were a promise. Months later, as the stars of Scutum burned faintly on the horizon, Hale stood alone on the observation deck. Ilara joined him, carrying 2 mugs of steaming synthetic coffee. "Any word from command?" she asked. "They've begun assembling a new fleet," he said. "They're calling it the Guardian Initiative. Their first flagship's under construction already." "What'll they name it?" He smiled faintly. "Nemesis 2. Ilara exhaled, eyes distant. "Do you think Captain Reed would have liked that?" Hale looked out at the stars, his reflection mingling with theirs in the glass. "No," he said quietly. "But I think he'd understand." They stood there in silence, watching the void not as something empty, but as something alive again. Somewhere, in that vast dark, humanity had found its voice once more. Epilogue. Weeks later, deep within the wreckage field where the Nemesis had fallen, an automated beacon flickered to life. Its signal was faint, a repeating transmission that pulsed every 60 seconds, spreading outward into the galaxy. The message was simple, encoded in an old Earth dialect long forgotten by most. "This is UNS Nemesis. Humanity endures." And with that quiet heartbeat echoing through the stars, the age of silence ended forever.